What are we talking about today?
Well, today we're talking about special time and why it's so awesome for the kids and sometimes not so awesome for us. Why some of us grown-ups run far, far from it.
That's so true. I can't wait to talk about this one. Hi, I'm Elle Kwan in Hong Kong. I'm your host of the Hand in Hand podcast. We're a non-profit from San Francisco operating globally, and we decode children's difficult behaviors one parenting challenge at a time.
And I'm Abigail Wald, founder of realtimeparenting.com and also a certified hand-in-hand parenting instructor. And every week, Elle and I like to take a look at just one facet of hand-in-hand parenting and how we use it or sometimes don't in our lives. Yeah.
So what's special time like for you?
Special time is my weakest tool for me personally.
That's quite interesting. And it's a lot of people's go-to, right?
I know. It's so funny. It's like the first tool that we teach. And for a lot of people, I think sometimes is even like the only one they wind up actually adopting.
Yeah.
And for me, for some weird reason, it's my hardest tool. Like almost all of the other tools come pretty easily. And I like pretty readily run to them. And special time is like in the same part of my brain that exercise is in.
A chore.
It's like, it's hard to say because I've had amazing special times with my kids and times that I have done it and really, really, really loved it. Just like exercise, actually.
But getting in the track pants is a bit harder.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's like every time it's time to do it, I'm always like, oh, I really want to do this. Yes, I do.
So do you find yourself putting it off? Or?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a struggle for me. Do you know what I do? I tell my kids, we're going to do special time when you get home today. Because
so they kind of lock you into it.
Yes.
That's good. That's strategizing.
Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm like admitting my deepest, darkest secrets.
Yeah. I think that's great. I think that's, we did the habits one. Isn't that
Right.
like putting the Post-it note on your computer?
Yeah, right? Like I try to create a situation I can't turn back from,
Oh my gosh, that's interesting. But what is it? What's the driver? Anything you can put your finger on?
Yes, I will tell you. For me, I have, I don't know where it comes from, but I have in my life, it's not quite as bad now. I'm getting better about it, but I've had in my life a relationship to time that was one of feeling like always behind time, like there was never enough time. Like I always want to do more life than there will be time for.
Right.
That I have so much to do and I'm never going to get it all done. Like those are all sort of statements floating around in my brain that I've had to learn to retrain myself from. And I think really what they stem from is a feeling of aloneness and a feeling of like beleagueredness and like wanting someone to experience the experience of life with me, if that makes sense, on like a
Do you
very
know what?
deep
That's
level.
so interesting though, because you're relating it back to special time, which requires you to give that to your kids.
Yes, and because it was something, it's so interesting while we're talking about this, I'm having this like major realization. Welcome all of you to my LP time.
People the masses.
So yeah, no, it's really fascinating because I think as a child, I felt really, really alone. And I felt like no one could understand what I was living in. And so I think that feeling really stayed with me and it morphed into this idea of like, somehow it became attached to time. And I'm not sure why, but It's so interesting. And so, yeah, I think there's some connection there. And I think that's why it's hard for me. It's like you can't give what you don't have, right?
Yeah.
And so because that was kind of like this is all making me really want to give my kids special time, actually, because I'm realizing I want to like heal that, you know?
Yeah, there you go. Mom goals.
Yeah, but it's like there was like that part of me that sort of never felt met in that way. And I think that, so it's really hard for me to turn around and give it because it's like that part of me still has a hunger. And so it's like, it's hard to feed someone else when you're hungry. It's like what we say about kids, like when they can't share, it's like because there's still a part of them that isn't full, right?
Yeah.
So it's like that piece of it, do you know? It's so interesting. And you know, I do it and I make myself do it. And there are times that I absolutely love it. And, you know, we'll talk about all those times too. But it is still my hardest tool. Like it is the one that requires like conscious choice almost every time.
Mine's more, you know, as you said, it's one of the first tools I came across with Hand in Hand. And I definitely approached it like, this is going to turn all my parenting problems around.
Yeah, right.
And, you know, let's be fair, it was great. It was great to really see how play can be so important in a relationship, and it's so kind of undernoticed by adults. I feel like, you know, often the kids are sent to play by themselves. You're not actually playing with them. But I find like it becomes almost like another thing on my to-do list, you know, so I find myself cheating a little bit. I'll sit down with them or, you know, one of them, and I'll play and then I get back up again. And in my head, it's like, okay, that was special time, done. But of course, I haven't told them it's special time. I haven't timed it. You know, there's none of those kind of methodologies in place that are recommended for special time to be really effective. So actually, I guess that then when the whining creeps up or the play with me creeps up or even like, oh, when can we do special time? In my head, it's done, but in theirs, it's not. And so the benefits are kind of lost in any case. Do you know what I mean? But I still find myself doing that.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that because like, I'm like, there are so many times because I love being with my kids and I love spending, you know, it's like special quality time with my kids. Like I do that all the time, but it's the naming of it and the timing of it, right, that make it official. It's almost like I feel like I'm like that lousy girlfriend or boyfriend who like, it's like, I'll date you and I'll sleep with you, but we're not going to call it a thing.
Right. Yeah, I'm not committing to this wholeheartedly right now. And that's funny you bring that up because I've had such commitment issues, not just in like those relationships, but yeah, totally. I do find it quite hard to be committed to stuff. So maybe that's all tied up in that. But I think like declaring it can, when we started, I don't know whether it's because I'm fundamentally, I know I don't sound shy, but I've always thought of myself as being quite a shy person. And so me announcing that we were going to do this special type of play, I was actually quite self-conscious doing that, you know. So I did really stick to that to start with because I was also thinking, you know, this is how you do it and this is how it has to be done. But then I guess maybe I got a bit lazy or I don't know. Yeah, I just didn't want to commit to it. But I think other people think that as well. I've heard that on the blog. Declaring it can sound unnatural, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, beyond the two of us, there are other parents who, you know, can
slip in
people,
some special time cheats.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, some people really do have a really easy time of it with special time. Like that's their easiest, best tool, and I think that's actually more true than not true on some level. Often, I think that's my experience of it when I'm teaching people. But I do think that a lot of people feel like declaring it seems really unnatural. It seems fake. It seems like, okay, well, now I'm going to say that I'm, you know, giving you the special time. And they feel like, well, I give my kids special time all the time. So, you know, why is that? Like
That's true. I mean, the definition between special time and just play, that can be kind of tricky to navigate as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is this, though, and I often use this example when I'm teaching, right after I tell all the parents that I'm working with that special time is really hard for me, that, you know, milk and cookies is great, right? Any day of the week. But Christmas milk and cookies are better just because they're Christmas milk and cookies, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's like, you know, even if you think about like maybe your boss coming in and giving you, you know, extra money because you did a good job that month. And, you know, just at the end of the month, you just notice you have an extra $150 in your account. And you're like, oh, well, that's cool. But that's not anywhere near as nice as somebody coming in and saying, hey, you know, I saw you did such an amazing job this month. And like, you know, I wanted to make sure to give you just a little extra something. So we scraped that together, you know, like that feels really special. Right.
Yeah.
So I do think that the declaring of it is actually part of the special time. Like it's actually part of the gift.
Oh, yeah, I've never thought about it like that, but that's so true, especially even for my oldest. She will absorb your attention however it's given kind of thing. But she really eats it up. So she's nearly 10. She really eats it up if I call it special time. That means for her, that signifies for her, no phones, no brother annoying her, you know, like she's in charge. And it is quite different from when I'm just lingering, you know?
Yeah. 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 And
I just never really noticed that until you kind of put it in the biscuit. See, everything should be told with a biscuit story, a cookie story, shouldn't it? Then you notice things more.
I was like, wait, did I say biscuit? Oh, right. Cookie, biscuit. Cookie.
Biscuits and milk. But
Yeah. And I think the other, another thing that really holds parents back is like, they think that it's mean to time their kids when they're with them. Like the idea that we're like, no, it has to also not only do name it, but you time it, right? And I think that a lot of people feel like, oh my gosh, that's so mean. Like I'm going to time this time with my child.
That leads way to another cheat, doesn't it? Where it goes off and your kid begs you to play a bit more. And you're like, oh, all right, then let's do another 2 minutes.
Right.
You get into a bit of that sometimes as well.
Right. And I think that brings us actually to the third reason, which is why parents sometimes shy away from, you know, special time, which is sometimes for kids who have a hard time maybe with separation or feel like they're not getting enough or maybe just are working on something else that's going on. Like, who knows? There's plenty of reasons why on the other end of a special time, sometimes you'll get a stay lesson. Right.
Yeah.
And so, you know, which means like the child will have a lot of big feelings and then not like this special time might be done. Right. And you're not going to continue special time or maybe
and then you're into upset.
Yeah.
Woo.
And maybe it's even the act of ending the special time that causes the stay lesson. Right.
Yeah.
Or theoretically causes the stay lesson. Right. And then you're stuck there having now committing yourself to a stay lesson. And so I think some parents who are uncomfortable with stay listening but might love special time actually avoid special time because they know that on the other end of it, sometimes there can be a stay lesson.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was definitely a thing for me to start with. I kept having probably too long of a special time so that I was panicked when there was crying at the end. And because it was new and those cries were quite long and, you know, my son did have issues or probably still does a bit with separation. And so, yes, declaring the end did feel like a separation for him. So those cries were quite intense and quite hearty. And yeah, it took me a long time to actually think, ooh, I will have a shorter special time. Then at least I've got time for the cry at the end. Yeah. Although I have to say now that we've been through it for quite a long time, he's much more accepting of this is the practice. You know, this is what happens. And if there's truly something bothering him, yes, that's when the cry will come, because it's a great excuse for a child to go, no, to pin their feelings on that, isn't it?
Yeah.
But now we've done it for quite a long time, he knows that that's how it works, and it isn't this huge separation anymore, you know, that I will be back at some point. So I
Yeah.
guess despite my cheating sometimes, the amount that I've done it properly must have like weighed out.
Yeah, right. And you know, I think that I love what you said about like doing a shorter special time. I think that's such an important thing because you know, it's like sometimes the stay listen, it's like it's almost part of the special time. You know, like even if it happens after you
That's
end the special
true.
time, it's like when they feel that close to you, sometimes that is when they'll bring up that other stuff, right? And
That's
so if
true.
if you kind of budget it that way, right? Even if it's not actually part of the special time, now you're in a stay listen, but it's like if you budget it that way for yourself, I think as an adult, sometimes that can be helpful. And I also just want to circle back onto this idea of like thinking it's mean to time it, because I think,
Yeah.
you know, something that I think has helped a lot of parents when I talk to them about it, and that's their initial feeling, is to sort of think of it almost like flip it 180 and say, but if we're on our child's side, right? So it's not like we're on the side of the timer, right? And the side of the limit, but we're on our child's side looking at the limit, right? You almost imagine yourself like with your arm around your kiddo, like looking at the clock, being like, "Aw, it's done," you know? And like, and it's like, "Oh, I'm so glad we get to do this again tomorrow." And then it's like, you're both sort of negotiating time together. And it also becomes you protecting this time. Like you're using the timer not to say like, I'm only spending 7 minutes of special time with you and then the rest of our lives will be very unspecial. But to say like, you know, I'm going to make these 7 minutes super special and I want you to know like nobody can interrupt me. So like, look at this timer. I'm setting it. Nobody can interrupt me. I'm not going to go work. I'm not going to go answer questions or calls or, you know, emails or talk to your brother or any of that. Like, this is our
Yeah, you're
time
saying
together.
you are top priority right now. Mm-hmm. That's a good thing.
Yeah, so I think the timer actually can really become your child's friend, as it is our friend sometimes, right? Because it also
Do you
helps
think it's
us.
quite true then that there is that period, you know how I just described, like to start with, it is the enemy, and it is for you too a bit, because then you're like, oh, now I've to deal with this, you know, this upset or whatever. But after a while, yeah, you can see that flip. Do you reckon that like pretty much uniform, or is it different in different cases?
No, I think it's different for different people, I think. I think some people go in and out of that all the time. I think for some people it starts off really easy and then it gets harder. And for some people it starts off hard and gets easier. And I think it's like with everything, you know, it like goes in and out a little bit. But I don't know. That's just my experience of what I think other people experience, but I don't know. Which actually does kind of beg the question of like, if special time is so hard for some of us, it's like, wait, why are we doing this? Yeah, so maybe we should spend some time looking at what's awesome about it.
I think like when special time is great for me, it's much more like a dual benefit. I always used to think of special time as being like for my child. You know, oh, my child spends so long, you know, trying to dictate what happens that we have to say no, that this is a great time for him to say, or for her to say, this is what I'm going to do. Or, you know, one of my children is quite quiet, and so this is a time for her to speak up. I used to think of it like that. But actually, I feel like this is a really nice time for me now. This is a time for me to kind of set my to-do list down with its billions of things on it and just go, no, for 10 minutes or however long, I'm just going to enjoy what my kid's going to bring up, you know, and I can see right where they're at in that moment. And you know, my sister actually works with kids, and so in our family she was always the one that was good with kids, you know, you get those labels. And we hang out with her from time to time. She's still in the UK, and I noticed that her being good with kids is a lot of what I have now done in special time, which is sitting back, letting the child come to you, you know, carrying out what they want to do a little bit, but just really looking at them and being right there in the moment and being calm and being soft and being playful. And it's like quite a rare chance in a day that you get to do that. So that's kind of when we've had our best times, that's been why. And also I think when I'm in that frame, things can get a bit crazy and it's fun. You know, like one of our best ones. They don't always have to be crazy and fun, I know. But there was one of our best ones. We ended up wearing wigs. Like we've got these green wigs for Halloween. We were wearing these wigs. And I don't even know what roles we had, but we were jumping on the bed. And I don't know, we were just acting crazy. And it felt so nice just to be in that moment and give myself permission to just do that and be a kid again as well, almost.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
You know, for me too, like the times that I really enjoy special time have also been, you know, well, it's two things. One is, yes, it's like the time I finally let myself stop being a parent, quote unquote, you know, like stop thinking about like what's best for them right now and where are we going and what's dinner and have we all done everything? And, you know, it's like, and I just like purely exist in the moment, right? Which is such a gift. And I think that, yeah, for me too, it's like this huge gift when I finally can let myself do it. And as I was listening to you, I was realizing like, oh, maybe that's also part of what makes me nervous is like, I like to feel like I know where the bus is going. Do you know what I mean? And so there's a piece of me that feels like if I all let it down, is it still going to be there when I need to pick it back up? You know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And yet I have to say, like, when I do it, I actually almost always enjoy it. There was a moment about a week ago,
like
I was
exercise.
like, wait, are
We're
we
right back where we started? Yeah, it feels really great after.
Yes, exactly. And you know what? I actually really enjoy it when I take out my mat and I do yoga and I stretch and I, you know, exercise and I'm doing sit-ups and I'm like, oh, this feels great. And then it's like, I should do that again. It's like, no.
Yeah.
I definitely need to explore that. Like that, oh my gosh, there's a word for it. I just came across, I think it's a Greek word. It's called acrasia. And it means like working against your better instincts or working against what you know is good for you. Right?
Oh, I am the queen of that then. What's it called?
Acrasia. Akrasia.
Acrasia.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how it's pronounced. I think that must be how it's pronounced, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, so yeah, it's that's like totally what it is, right? Like when you're working against yourself, you know?
Yeah, and that happens so much, I find, especially when you get busy.
Yeah, but it's usually because there's like some huge gift locked up in there, right? So this has all renewed my interest in what it is.
You're going to, as soon as your kids get home tonight or whenever, you're going to be like, right, special time for 3 hours.
They're going to be like, Mom, no, that's too long.
Calm down, Mom.
Right.
Oh, dear. Oh, that was a fun one. I would love to hear what our listeners think about their special times. Have you had good times? Have you had bad times? Is it something you indulge in or run away from? That would be good, right?
Yeah, I'd love to hear that. Oh, and one other last thing I will say about special time is I have found it to be a really great way to learn about and also help, especially one of my sons, like learn new interests because he often like won't want to do something and then it's like special time and then he'll like try something that he wouldn't try in other ways. And that's always very exciting also. So I really enjoy that.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, and it was also one of the ways he got over, he used to hate losing in games, so we would do like special time games, which was like torturous for like years, and then like, you know, I think was very healing for him ultimately.
There's no getting away from it. It can be such a miraculous kind of time for your child, such a good window in the day.
Yeah.
If we can just get on the mat and do it.
Yeah, and I'm looking. Oh my gosh, this is like such a fascinating episode for me. My brain is like on fire. Yeah, I think another thing is like I like things that are like. See, even now I'm like, well, I like it because I saw him grow there. But it's like, no, like just like it because it's fun. Like it's like I need to work on just like enjoying things for the sake of enjoyment. Like that's just something because it's fun, that's enough reason.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like play is good enough, right? Like it doesn't have to be because we're learning something or getting better or growing or whatever. It's like it's just plain old fun. And I think
it's just indulging in each other's company, isn't it? That's what you have family for, really.
Yeah. And I think that that fun like needs a little bump up, you know?
Bump up the fun.
So, yeah, I like it. Bump up the fun. Let's do it.
Bump up the fun. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make like a special time cheat sheet. So every time we don't want to do it, we'll read that cheat sheet. And
it'll be our non-cheat sheet.
Oh, yeah. Okay. It'll be a special time non-cheat sheet. I will make it. I will put it in the show notes. Parents, if you have resistance to special time, go there and find it. Also, we should say, please, can you subscribe, rate and review our show?
Yes.
We might be at 10,000 downloads by now, I think, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, and it's, actually by the time this one airs, we'll probably be well beyond that. So very exciting.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And if you want to get in touch with Abigail, please do at realtimeparenting.com. She would love to hear from you. Right, Abigail?
Yes, definitely. All right, well, we're so excited that you're here. Please definitely, as Elle said, subscribe and also leave us a review and a rating, and we will see you next week.
See you next week. Bye.